Welcome to the Foreign Investors on India's weekly report. This week we start with UNDP director giving his views on the massive cleanup of Ganga River, a monumental project, he says. We have Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has called for more private sector investments in the country's infrastructure projects. During a meeting with industry leaders, he called on them to consider a number of infrastructure projects that are critical for the country's economic development. He met them during a pre-budget briefing on November 26 in New Delhi. Responding to his call, the industry's leaders suggested a number of tax reviews in order to encourage private sectors to invest in heavy capital-intensive projects in the country.
We work with governments to have major financial inclusion programs for people who do not have access to banking, modern banking, to have access to modern banking. So they're more empowered, right, to make their economic decisions.
Right.
They actually reduce their cost of doing business.
Yes.
And I have many cases where people have to spend $50 or $70 from their village to the bank. But with modern technology, with point of sales machine,
Right.
we can do banking, modern banking at the doorsteps.
Yes.
So this is very empowering for community. So we do this and other kinds of projects to support the goals of economic growth and poverty reduction.
What's your advice to them, to the Indian government? What are they doing and what they should do now?
I think Indian government, has a lot of capabilities. Okay?
Yeah.
They have a lot of plans. Right? They have ambitious targets. I think the challenge is the service delivery.
Yes.
I think the challenge is service delivery, and especially in rural areas,
Right.
where we still see quite a high level of disparity. I think this is where we are working with governments on. We have a new model of relationship with the Indian governments,
Right.
where we are working with governments to deliver services to these areas.
Can you elaborate on that model?
For example, the Prime Minister Modi has a very ambitious objective to clean up the Ganga River.
Right.
But that is an issue that cannot be solved overnight.
Right.
It will require the effort of the whole society along this river, right?
Yes.
To really work over at least a decade, I would think, right? To really change the way the people do production, right?
Right.
People consume, people discharge waste.
Right.
So we're working together with some state governments, for example,
Right.
to focus on about 80 villages, right, first, to pilot. So to change the way that we manage, we live, right? How do we treat our waste? How do we discharge,
Right.
wastewater, solid waste, right?
Yes.
How do we deal with for example, the use of fertilizers in the production process, right? So
Yeah.
you have to work with community, with local
Yeah.
governments together to change the way we used to do business.
Which state government are you working with?
Can I come back to you on this? We
Yes.
have. I don't know the pronunciation, but we do have
There's either Bihar or UP.
UP.
UP ones that are around that.
There's a minister, of water.
I see. UP has a minister of water.
There's in the federal government, I think there's a lady minister.
Okay, yeah, I know
what
her.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, for example, she's very committed.
Yeah, she is pushing Ganga cleaning.
Right? She's very committed. So we have a partner. So we are not offering any financing because we are not a donor anymore, right?
Right.
But we can work with governments which has a vision. Right?
Yes.
And to work together because we have experience in other countries which we can bring to this effort.
Right. How extensive is your work program with this on this Ganga project?
It is a pilot program.
Right.
It's funded by the state government.
Okay.
And I think at this time we're focusing on about 80 villages.
80 villages you're starting with.
Right. But
You have started on the program?
I think we have started, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a very important pilot. Right?
And you believe it took 10 years to clean Ganga?
I cannot say that, okay. But since you're recording me on camera, what I would say, based on my experience, what I saw in China, okay,
Yeah.
to clean up a small stretch of a river
Yes.
in urban China, in
Right.
Shanghai, okay, it took 10 years.
Yes.
Cleaning up Ganga is a monumental task.
It took 10 years for Singapore to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So
we have an additional source of information.
Right. Okay. So you will send that.
Yeah.
Great, sir.
Right. So we're in this together, okay. But it's government's vision and the drive that will make a difference.
Right.
We can help.
I would have only one word for it. It's awesome. Sorry to get into a little bit of a slang, but I think it's a great scheme, both on the urban side as well as the rural side.
Right.
On the urban side, as you're aware, they're giving a 6.5% interest subsidy. Now the beauty of this is that you don't have to wait every year and stand in a queue and collect the subsidy amount from the government.
Right.
The government is calculating it for a period of 15 years, discounting it and giving it to you upfront.
I see.
So as far as I'm concerned, the minute I give a loan to a person who's entitled for this benefit, I have to apply, and in no time at all we get the subsidy and we pass it on to the customer.
Right.
So I think it's a beautifully designed scheme and it will go a long way towards helping the urban poor. On the rural side, while I think it's still being notified, they have come out with a scheme where they're going to transfer a total of about 1,20,000 rupees to anybody who wants to make a house.
Yeah.
This is going to be in various stages, etc.
Right.
And it's still to take off, but I think it's a great opportunity.
How
for
will
us.
that come along with your scheme? Which way?
See, in that scheme also they are saying there'll be about a 70,000 to 1 lakh component besides the 1,20,000, which the customer might have to take a loan to really do up his house.
The government has released rupees 118 crore in the coming financial years for the farms mechanization of farm site. Minister in charge of the farmers, welfare and agriculture sector, Radha Mohan Singh, said it was essential to use maximum technology to help increase farm production and farm yield. Technology is a way forward, he said, to increase food production to meet the growing population's demand in the coming years. The government has approved 4 foreign direct investment projects, first of which is by Dr. Reddy's Laboratory, which is acquiring a Imperial Credit, a non-banking financial group. The other is Oxford Group investing in a printing and publishing setup in the country. France's Ilia Group has entered the Indian market by acquiring 2 food companies in Chennai. Ilios chairman Saleh said India is the most promising market and its entry is a strategic move as seeking partnerships and business from emerging markets around the world. Saleh said Indian market's growth potential is big. Acquisition of Megabyte and CRCL will make Elior one of the top 3 contract caterers in the Indian market, he said. The government has approved an MOU with NIDO of Japan, which is a new energy industrial technology development organization. It is in partnership with a number of Indian institutions and will work on developing energy efficiency systems and products in the country. CL International, one of India's best known international group, has been named the global leader in IoT by IDC Market Space. Japan will set up a tourism promotion sector office in Delhi. Wong sees a strong partnership between India and Singapore. Singapore investors are keen in investing in India, he said.